Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. There's a saying that goes, if you want something, pursue it to the end and never give up. While this perspective is popular and easily understood, it carries an invisible pressure we place on ourselves. The philosophy of Stoicism, an ancient ideology, teaches us a different viewpoint. Not everything in life needs to be forced or controlled. Think about the times you've tried to control everything around you to achieve a desired outcome. Perhaps you've given your all, poured your heart and soul into a job or relationship, only to find that the harder you tried, the more complicated and out of control things became. These failures not only exhaust you physically but also create deep-seated insecurity and disappointment. This doesn't mean you're not good enough or unworthy. Sometimes it's simply because we are forcing life to conform to our will, forgetting that life is naturally a flowing stream. And living a life without forcing things is not easy, especially in a world that constantly demands and imposes standards of success and happiness. However, by applying the principles of Stoicism, you'll discover that life becomes much lighter and more meaningful when you no longer feel the need to control everything. Let me guide you through 10 methods to achieve this so you can live a more meaningful and peaceful life. These methods will not only help you reduce stress and anxiety but also allow you to find joy and satisfaction in every moment of life. Before we start the video, don't forget to watch the video to the end, don't miss a single part, and then apply what you learn to your life. You are ready to explore the profound wisdom of Stoic philosophy? Your journey of life discovery starts right now. Number 1. The power of acceptance. Acceptance is not simply about resignation or giving up, it's about having the inner strength to face every situation with calmness and clarity. Epictetus, one of the renowned Stoic philosophers, once said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." The power of acceptance lies in this variability. Think about a time when you faced a difficult situation, perhaps it was losing a job, a broken relationship, or a serious illness. Our initial reaction is often resistance, denial, and an attempt to change reality. But have you ever asked yourself, what would happen if I stopped resisting and started accepting? Acceptance is not surrender. It's about understanding the nature of the situation and finding a wiser way to confront it. Acceptance does not mean giving up on dreams or ceasing to strive. On the contrary, it helps us see more clearly what truly matters and realign our goals. For instance, when a job opportunity doesn't come as expected, instead of feeling disappointed, accept that it's part of the journey and continue seeking other opportunities. Acceptance makes us more flexible and resilient in the face of life's changes. It brings inner peace by freeing us from the whirlwind of negative emotions such as anger, anxiety, or fear. Have you ever wondered what would happen if you accepted everything as it is without trying to change or control it? Could you find more ease and serenity within yourself? This principle is captured beautifully in a proverb from Epictetus, who once said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." The essence of acceptance lies not in surrender but in the strength to face whatever life throws at us with serenity and insight. This is not a passive act but a dynamic process that shapes our responses to life's unpredictable nature. Consider a man named Marcus, a figure who exemplifies what it means to grapple with acceptance. Marcus was a man of ambition, an entrepreneur who built a business from the ground up. He was someone who, for many years, seemed to have everything under control. Success came naturally to him, and he was revered by his peers for his unyielding work ethic. But as is often the case in life, the winds of fortune changed suddenly and unexpectedly. The economy shifted, markets crashed, and Marcus's business, his pride and joy, was caught in the storm. No amount of effort could save it from the inevitable downturn. In the immediate aftermath, Marcus did what many of us might do: he resisted. His initial reaction was one of anger, confusion, and a desperate clinging to what was slipping through his fingers. He spent countless nights awake, racking his brain for solutions, for ways to reverse the misfortune that had befallen him. He was consumed by a sense of injustice, a belief that life had wronged him. "Why me?" he asked repeatedly, searching for answers that would never come. But then, as time went on, something within Marcus began to shift. He remembered the words of a mentor who had once introduced him to Stoic philosophy. True power, his mentor had said, is not in changing the world, but in changing yourself, in adapting to the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. These words lingered in Marcus's mind, growing louder with each passing day. It was then that he began to contemplate the idea of acceptance, not as defeat, but as a pathway to peace and clarity. Marcus slowly started to realize that his relentless struggle against reality was doing him more harm than good. It wasn't the external circumstances that were the true source of his suffering, but his refusal to accept them. The more he resisted, the more he felt trapped in a cycle of frustration and despair. This realization was the first step toward his transformation. Acceptance, as Marcus discovered, was not about abandoning his dreams or aspirations. It wasn't about giving up. Instead, it was about acknowledging the reality of his situation and choosing to move forward despite it. Marcus made a conscious decision to stop blaming the economy, the market, or himself. He chose to accept that the world had changed, and he needed to change with it. This acceptance didn't come easily. It required Marcus to confront his fears, to let go of his need for control, and to trust in the process of life. But with each day that he embraced acceptance, he found a new sense of freedom. He began to see opportunities where before he had only seen obstacles. He became more adaptable, more resilient, and more at peace with the ever-changing nature of life. Marcus's acceptance allowed him to redirect his energy. Instead of wasting time and effort on what he couldn't control, he began to focus on what he could: his attitude, his response, and his future. This shift in perspective opened up new possibilities, new paths that he had never considered before. He started to innovate, to explore new ventures that were in harmony with the current state of the market. In embracing acceptance, Marcus didn't just rebuild his life, he transformed it. He became a man who could face challenges with calm and confidence, unburdened by the anger and frustration that once held him back. He learned to flow with life, like a river that moves around obstacles without losing its course. This newfound perspective brought him a sense of peace that he had never experienced before. Now, let's reflect on your own life. Think of a time when you resisted a situation that was beyond your control. How did that resistance make you feel? Did it help you, or did it only add to your stress and frustration? What might have happened if, instead of resisting, you had chosen to accept? Acceptance is not a sign of weakness, it's a source of strength. It's a choice to live in harmony with the world as it is, rather than fighting against it. When you accept, you open yourself up to new possibilities. You free yourself from the burden of trying to control the uncontrollable. This doesn't mean that you stop striving or that you give up on your goals. On the contrary, acceptance helps you to focus your energy on what truly matters, on the things that you can influence. It allows you to move forward with a clear mind and a calm heart. Number 2, live fully in the present. In Stoic philosophy, living fully in the present is a fundamental principle that helps us find peace and happiness. Marcus Aurelius, one of the renowned Stoic philosophers, once said, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. This quote reminds us that time is finite and precious, and only the present moment is truly within our grasp. Living fully in the present means you focus entirely on what is happening now, feeling and experiencing each moment deeply. This not only helps reduce stress and anxiety about the future but also allows you to enjoy the simple pleasures of daily life. Imagine sitting under an ancient tree, listening to the birds sing, and feeling a gentle breeze on your skin. You can immerse yourself completely in that moment without worrying about unfinished tasks or distant plans. Let us talk for a moment about the power of living fully in the present, and how this simple yet profound principle can transform your life, bringing peace, clarity, and a deeper sense of connection to everything around you. When we say, live fully in the present, we are not merely suggesting that you exist in the moment as a passive observer, but rather, that you engage with each second as though it holds the key to your contentment and well-being. This is more than just a practice, it's a way of being, a mindset that shapes how you experience life itself. The great Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius spoke to this truth when he said, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." These words are not meant to instill fear, but rather to awaken you to the reality that life is finite. Every breath you take, every beat of your heart, is a moment that will never come again. This understanding is not morbid but liberating. It frees you from the chains of procrastination, regret, and the endless cycle of what-ifs that can so easily dominate your thoughts. Think about your daily life. How often do you find your mind wandering to the past, dwelling on things that cannot be changed, or racing ahead to the future, worrying about things that may never come to pass? This constant mental time travel pulls you away from the present moment, the only time in which you truly have any control. When you allow your mind to be dragged into the past or the future, you miss out on the richness of the present. You miss out on the opportunity to experience life as it is happening. Imagine for a moment sitting under a grand, ancient tree. The sun filters through the leaves, casting a dappled light on the ground. You hear the soft rustling of the wind in the branches, the distant call of a bird. The air smells fresh, tinged with the earthy scent of the forest. In this moment, there is no past, no future, only the present. You are fully there, feeling the breeze on your skin, hearing the sounds around you, seeing the beauty of the world as it is right now. This is the essence of living fully in the present. When you live fully in the present, you open yourself to the joy of simple pleasures. You start to notice the small details that often go unnoticed in the rush of everyday life, the way sunlight reflects off a puddle, the warmth of a smile from a stranger, the taste of a perfectly ripe piece of fruit. These moments, small as they may seem, are the building blocks of a life well lived. They are the moments that bring a sense of peace and fulfillment that cannot be found by constantly chasing after the next big thing. Living in the present also reduces stress and anxiety. When your focus is on the here and now, you are not burdened by the weight of future uncertainties or past regrets. You are free to engage with the moment fully, to respond to whatever comes your way with calm and clarity. This doesn't mean that you ignore the future or the past entirely, but rather that you approach them from a place of mindfulness, using the present moment to shape your responses in a way that is healthy and productive. Have you ever sat next to a loved one and realized you were entirely caught up in other thoughts, missing the precious moment at hand? Ask yourself, how many times have you missed simple joys because your mind was preoccupied elsewhere? By living fully in the present, we not only enrich our own lives but also bring peace and joy to those around us. To live fully in the present, ask yourself, what is happening right now, and how can I enjoy this moment to the fullest? These questions will help you return to the present, reduce distractions, and feel a deeper connection to the world around you. Practice this daily, whether you are eating, working, or simply breathing. Paying attention to each small action will help you appreciate the value of every moment. Start by setting aside a few minutes each day for meditation, calming your mind, and returning to yourself. Let go of worries and pressures, and enjoy each present moment. Consider how much time and energy we often waste worrying about things that may never happen or dwelling on things we cannot change. This is not only unproductive but also harmful to our mental and emotional well-being. By choosing to focus on the present, you can redirect that energy towards actions and thoughts that bring you closer to your goals, that help you become the person you want to be. You begin to see that the present moment is not just a fleeting point in time, but a powerful opportunity to create a life of meaning and purpose. This practice also deepens your relationship with yourself. When you live in the present, you become more attuned to your own needs, feelings, and desires. You start to notice the subtle signals your body and mind send you, the tension in your shoulders, the flutter of excitement in your chest, the quiet voice inside that tells you what you truly want. This self-awareness is the foundation of personal growth. It allows you to make choices that are aligned with your values and your true self, rather than being driven by external pressures or old habits. Living in the present is not always easy. It requires discipline and practice. It requires you to let go of the need to control the future or to rewrite the past. It requires you to trust that the present moment is enough, that you are enough, just as you are. But as you cultivate this practice, you will find that it brings a sense of peace and joy that cannot be found anywhere else. You will find that the present moment, with all its imperfections and uncertainties, is a gift. This doesn't mean that you stop planning for the future or reflecting on the past. Rather, it means that you do so from a place of presence. When you plan for the future, you do so with a clear mind, grounded in the reality of the present. When you reflect on the past, you do so with compassion and understanding, without allowing it to overshadow the present. In this way, the past and the future become tools for growth, rather than sources of stress or regret. Lesson number 3: use silence effectively. Noise and hustle constantly surround us. The power of silence is often underestimated. However, to a Stoic philosopher, silence is not just about ceasing to speak, it is an art of controlling the mind and emotions. When we listen to silence, we not only hear the sounds around us but also the voice within our souls. It is in these moments that we can deeply understand ourselves and the life around us. Imagine the world around us: constant noise, relentless hustle, the never-ending demands for our attention. It's easy to get lost in this chaos, to feel like we're constantly reacting to everything around us. But here's the thing: amidst all this noise, there's a power that's often overlooked, a power that we, as Stoic philosophers, understand deeply. This power is silence. Silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's far more than that. It's an art, a skill that, when mastered, allows us to control our minds and emotions with unparalleled precision. Think of silence as a mirror. When we're silent, we can see our true selves reflected back at us. We hear not just the external world but the internal one too, the quiet, often ignored voice within our souls. This inner voice, when given the chance to speak through silence, can reveal profound truths about ourselves and the life we're living. Consider this: in the midst of silence, everything becomes clearer. Imagine standing in a dense fog, unable to see what's in front of you. Now, picture that fog slowly lifting, revealing the landscape in sharp detail. That's what silence does for our minds. It clears away the mental fog, allowing us to perceive things with greater clarity and wisdom. Perhaps you've experienced this yourself, moments when, in the stillness, you suddenly found answers to questions that had been troubling you, or when you felt a sense of peace wash over you, even in the face of anxiety and pressure. Do you remember the last time you were truly silent? Not just quiet, but deeply, profoundly silent. When you allowed your heart to speak, what did it say? Silence is a space where the soul breathes, where our true thoughts and emotions rise to the surface, free from the distractions and demands of the external world. It's in these moments that we can understand ourselves more deeply, and in turn, understand the world around us. Now, let us share a story with you. Picture a situation of intense conflict, perhaps a disagreement with a friend, a family member, or a colleague. The air is thick with tension, and words are flying back and forth like arrows. The natural instinct in such moments is to react, to defend ourselves, to speak out in anger or frustration. But imagine, instead, choosing silence. Imagine pausing, stepping back, and letting the storm of emotions pass. This silence isn't about surrender or defeat, it's about strength. It's about creating a space to assess the situation, to observe without the cloud of anger or fear. This is where true wisdom lies. As Epictetus wisely reminded us, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Think about that for a moment. In a world where everyone seems eager to speak, how often do we truly listen? And not just to others, but to ourselves, to our own thoughts and feelings. Listening, in its truest form, requires silence. It requires us to be still, to open our minds and hearts, and to allow understanding to take root. So, let us ask you again, when was the last time you truly embraced silence? What did you hear in that stillness? Maybe you discovered a new perspective, or perhaps you simply found a moment of peace amidst the chaos. Silence isn't just about quieting the noise around us, it's about reaching into the depths of our own being, where the real answers lie. It's about finding the strength to face life's challenges with grace, clarity, and poise. Imagine this: the next time you're faced with a difficult situation, instead of rushing to respond, take a moment to be silent. Let the silence speak for you, let it guide your thoughts and actions. You might be surprised by what you discover. Silence has a way of revealing truths that words often obscure. In the quiet of the night, or the early hours of the morning, when the world is still and calm, that's when silence is most powerful. It's in these moments that we can connect with our inner selves, with our deepest thoughts and emotions. And it's in these moments that we can find the clarity and wisdom we need to navigate life's complexities. Silence allows us to perceive things more clearly and wisely. Perhaps you have experienced moments when silence helped you find answers to difficult questions or brought you peace amidst pressure and anxiety. Do you remember the last time you were truly silent and listened to what your heart had to say? A specific example of the power of silence can be seen in conflict situations. Instead of reacting with anger or thoughtless words, silence allows us to step back, assess the situation, and respond wisely. As Epictetus advised, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. By listening more than we speak, we create space for understanding and genuine connection. Let's bring this conversation to a close by asking you to reflect on your own life. How often do you allow silence to be your guide? How often do you let it shape your thoughts, your actions, your responses? Silence is not just a tool for self-reflection, it's a tool for self-mastery. It's how we, as Stoics, learn to control our minds, our emotions, and ultimately, our lives. And as we prepare to explore the next lesson, we leave you with a challenge: embrace silence in your daily life. Listen to what it has to tell you. Let it be the space where your true self can emerge, and where the noise of the world fades into the background. Let silence be your teacher, your companion, and your source of wisdom. Number 4. Understand the impermanence of life. A concrete example illustrating life's impermanence is the change of seasons. Spring brings new life, summer is full of energy and vigor, autumn is gentle and romantic, and winter is cold but prepares for a new spring. Similarly, our lives have their own cycles. Everything changes, and it's this change that brings balance and richness to life. Understanding and accepting impermanence helps us become more patient and resilient in any situation. When faced with difficulties, instead of worrying and panicking, we can remind ourselves, this is just a part of the journey, and it will pass. This way, we can focus on what we can control and do our best. Impermanence teaches us the value of gratitude. When we recognize that everything can change, we begin to appreciate what we have more deeply, even the smallest things in our daily lives. Ask yourself, what can I be grateful for in my life today? The question for us is, how can we live harmoniously with this impermanence? One approach suggested by Stoic philosophy is the practice of acceptance. When we accept that everything happens for a reason and that we cannot control everything, we will feel more relieved and at peace. Life is constantly changing, and change is the only constant. No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he's not the same man, as philosopher Heraclitus once said, emphasizing the continuous transformation of all things. In our daily lives, we often cling to stability, wishing for everything to remain the same. But can we really resist the natural flow of time and change? Impermanence is not just a philosophical concept but an inevitable reality of life. Think about the times you've tried to hold on to a positive emotion or avoid a negative one. Have you noticed that all emotions, whether joy or sorrow, eventually pass? Have you ever wondered why we struggle so much with change, even though we know it's a fundamental part of life? Imagine for a moment, a man named Alex, who lived in a small village nestled between rolling hills and a winding river. Alex was a farmer, and for years, he took comfort in the predictability of the seasons. Each spring, he planted his crops, each summer, he harvested, each autumn, he prepared for the winter. The rhythm of the seasons was like a heartbeat, steady and reliable, giving him a sense of control and stability. One year, however, the river that ran through the village began to swell with an unusual intensity. The snowmelt from the mountains was heavier than usual, and soon, the river overflowed its banks, flooding the fields where Alex's crops had just begun to grow. The floodwaters destroyed much of what he had planted, leaving him with a sense of despair and helplessness. He had done everything right, but the forces of nature had upended his carefully laid plans. In the days that followed, Alex found himself staring at the ruined fields, unable to accept what had happened. He kept asking himself, why did this happen? Why now? He wished for things to return to the way they were, for the river to recede and his crops to miraculously reappear. But the more he clung to these thoughts, the more frustrated and despondent he became. The change that had swept through his life felt like an unwelcome intruder, something to be resisted and rejected. One day, as Alex was walking along the riverbank, he met an old man named Elias, who was known in the village for his wisdom and calm demeanor. Elias noticed the worry etched on Alex's face and asked him what was troubling him. Alex poured out his heart, describing the flood, the destruction of his crops, and his deep sense of loss. Elias listened quietly, nodding as he absorbed Alex's words. When Alex had finished, Elias paused for a moment before speaking. "Alex," he said, "have you ever stood in this river at different times of the year?" Alex nodded, confused by the question. Then you know, Elias continued, that the river is never the same. The water you step into today is not the same water you stepped into yesterday, nor will it be the same tomorrow. The river is always moving, always changing, just like life itself. Elias's words struck a chord with Alex. He had often observed the river's flow but had never truly considered its deeper meaning. The old man continued, "We often wish for life to remain stable, for things to stay as they are when they are good. But like the river, life is in constant motion. We cannot stop the flow of time, nor can we prevent change. What we can do is learn to move with it, to adapt and grow as the river does." As they walked together, Elias shared more of his thoughts. He spoke of the impermanence of all things, how nothing in life is fixed or permanent, not even our emotions or circumstances. "Think of your joy and your sorrow," Elias said. "They are like the river too, always in flux. When you try to hold on to happiness, it slips through your fingers. And when you resist sorrow, it lingers longer than it should. But when you accept both as they come and go, you begin to find peace, no matter the season." Alex began to understand what Elias was trying to convey. The flood had been devastating, but it was also a reminder of life's inherent impermanence. The fields would recover in time, new crops would be planted, and life would continue. The river would return to its normal course, but it would never be exactly the same as before. And that was okay. In the weeks that followed, Alex found himself reflecting on Elias's words often. He started to notice the small changes in his daily life, the subtle shifts in the weather, the way his thoughts and emotions ebbed and flowed like the river. Instead of resisting these changes, he began to embrace them, seeing them as opportunities for growth and learning. When another challenge arose, a late frost that threatened his newly planted seeds, Alex responded differently than he might have before. Instead of panicking or lamenting his misfortune, he accepted the situation for what it was, a part of the natural cycle of life. He covered his crops to protect them as best he could, but he also prepared himself mentally for the possibility of loss. And when the frost passed and the seed sprouted, he felt a deep sense of gratitude, not just for the survival of his crops, but for the lessons he had learned about impermanence and resilience. Elias's teaching had transformed Alex's approach to life. He realized that by understanding and accepting impermanence, he could find a new kind of stability, not in the unchanging nature of things, but in his ability to adapt and respond with equanimity. He saw that by letting go of his need for control, he could better appreciate the present moment and face the future with a calm and open heart. The seasons continued to change, the river continued to flow, and Alex continued to farm. But now, with each passing day, he carried with him the wisdom of the river and the knowledge that nothing in life remains the same. This understanding did not make life easier, but it made him stronger, more patient, and more at peace with whatever might come. Number 5, learn to let go. Learning to let go is one of the core principles of Stoic philosophy, a philosophy that teaches us to live in peace and contentment with life. Letting go doesn't mean giving up everything or becoming passive, it means understanding and accepting that some things are beyond our control. Imagine you are holding a hot stone tightly. You know that if you keep holding on, you will get burned, but if you let go, you will feel light and comfortable. Life is similar, there are pains and difficulties we must learn to let go of to find peace. Have you ever wondered why you hold on to sadness, anger, and disappointment? These negative emotions not only hurt you but also prevent you from living a happy and meaningful life. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When we let go of unnecessary burdens, our minds become lighter and freer. This doesn't mean giving up on everything, but rather being selective and holding on to what truly matters. Letting go is a way to cleanse our souls, much like tidying up a room, removing items that no longer serve us to make the space more airy and bright. Learning to let go is not about abandoning everything we care about. It's about understanding what truly matters and recognizing what is merely weighing us down. Life, much like that burning stone, presents us with challenges, regrets, and fears that we often clutch tightly to our chests. But by holding on, we only deepen our suffering. Letting go, on the other hand, is an act of wisdom. It's about realizing that some things are beyond our control, and that peace comes not from dominating our circumstances, but from accepting them as they are. Let's consider the emotional burdens we carry together. Perhaps it's anger from a past hurt, disappointment in someone we trusted, or sadness over a missed opportunity. These emotions are heavy, aren't they? They pull at our hearts, cloud our minds, and keep us anchored in a place of suffering. But what if we told ourselves that we have the power to release them? Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, reminds us that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. When we let go of these burdens, our minds are no longer shackled by negativity. Instead, they become open, free, and light. Letting go doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent. On the contrary, it requires strength and courage. It takes a deep understanding that holding on to certain emotions or situations is futile because they are out of our control. Imagine, if you will, tidying up a cluttered room. We carefully decide which items to keep and which to discard. This process of letting go is like cleaning our inner space, removing what no longer serves us, so that we can make room for something better, something that brings clarity and joy. This principle can be applied to so many areas of our lives. Perhaps we're holding on to a toxic relationship, convinced that if we just try harder, things will change. But let's ask ourselves, is this relationship bringing us peace, or is it adding to our stress? Or maybe we're clinging to an unrealistic expectation, a vision of how things should be, rather than accepting them as they are. These attachments drain our energy and keep us from experiencing the present moment in its fullness. Another area where letting go can be transformative is in how we view our past. We all make mistakes, it's part of being human. But when we refuse to forgive ourselves, we remain trapped in a cycle of self-blame and regret. What would happen if we chose to release that guilt? Could we perhaps see our past errors not as failures, but as lessons that have shaped who we are today? Letting go is not a single act, it's a practice, a way of living. It's about constantly asking ourselves, what are we holding on to that no longer serves us? What can we release to make room for growth and happiness? It's a journey that requires patience and self-compassion. And as we embark on this journey, we'll find that the more we let go, the more space we create for the things that truly matter. Now, we know this is not an easy path. There will be moments when we feel the urge to cling tightly to what is familiar, even if it's causing us pain. But remember, letting go is not about giving up. It's about gaining a deeper understanding of ourselves and our lives. It's about embracing change with grace and trusting that by releasing the old, we are making way for the new. As we reflect on these ideas, let's consider what might be preventing us from living a life filled with peace and meaning. Is it a fear of the unknown? A reluctance to face the discomfort of change? Or perhaps a belief that holding on is a sign of strength? True strength lies in our ability to let go and trust in the flow of life. And so, we leave you with this thought: letting go is a gift we give to ourselves. It is an act of kindness, a way to lighten our load and move forward with clarity and purpose. As we practice this principle, we'll find that life becomes less about control and more about harmony. We'll discover that by releasing what no longer serves us, we are opening ourselves up to a life of greater peace, fulfillment, and joy. Let's continue this conversation together. What do we think about the idea of letting go? Does it resonate with us, or do we have doubts? Our thoughts are valuable, and we would love to hear them. The act of letting go can be applied to many aspects of life. You can let go of toxic relationships, unrealistic expectations, or worries about the future. You can let go of past mistakes and learn to forgive yourself. Ask yourself, what is preventing you from living a happy and meaningful life? What can you let go of to make room for better things? Learning to let go is not an easy journey, but it will lead you to true freedom and peace. Remember, letting go is not giving up, it is accepting and appreciating what you have. Do you agree with this perspective? If you do, don't hesitate to like the video. If not, comment your thoughts below so we can discuss further. This brings us to lesson number 6, enjoy the journey, not just the outcome. In Stoic philosophy, there is a profound understanding that life's true value is not found in the achievements or the final outcomes, but in the journey we undertake to reach them. Picture yourself climbing a mountain. The summit, of course, is the goal, but if your eyes are only fixed on that peak, you miss everything along the way, the friendships forged, the lessons learned, the beauty observed in the landscape around you. It's the journey, not the destination, that holds the true treasures of life. Now, ask yourself, can you find joy without necessarily reaching the peak? Can you embrace the journey, with all its ups and downs, as the essence of life itself? Often, we are so fixated on the end goal that we forget to live fully in the present moment. We forget that each step, each challenge, each moment of joy or pain, is what shapes us. The process of striving, learning, and even failing, are all integral parts of our growth. When we focus solely on the result, we set ourselves up for disappointment, for life rarely unfolds exactly as we plan. But when we find joy in the journey, life becomes an adventure, rich, full, and meaningful. How can this principle be woven into the fabric of your daily life? Consider your daily tasks, no matter how mundane or routine. Can you find meaning and satisfaction in them? Can you learn to appreciate the process of doing rather than just the end result? When we shift our focus from the outcome to the process, we discover a profound sense of fulfillment. We realize that life is not about rushing to the finish line, but about savoring each step along the way. This is not to say that goals are unimportant, but rather that the journey towards them is where life truly happens. Let's reflect on this idea further. Life is a series of moments, each one fleeting, each one precious. When we live only for the outcome, we miss out on the beauty of the present. We overlook the small victories, the lessons in failure, the joy of simple tasks. But when we learn to enjoy the journey, we find that life becomes lighter, more joyful, and infinitely more rewarding. Every step, every challenge, every joy, and every sorrow becomes a thread in the rich tapestry of our lives. So, let us return to the mountain. As you climb, remember that the summit is not the only place where you find meaning. It is in the climb itself, in the breathless moments of exertion, in the shared stories with fellow travelers, and in the quiet reflections as you pause to take in the view. The journey is where life happens, where we grow, and where we find our true selves. And now, we leave you with these thoughts, not as a conclusion, but as an invitation, to embrace silence, to enjoy the journey, and to live each moment fully. Reflect on your own life, on your own journey, and ask yourself, what have you discovered in your moments of silence? What joy have you found in the journey? We are here to guide, to listen, and to share, but ultimately, it is you who must walk this path. Take these lessons, weave them into your life, and let them guide you towards a life rich with meaning and fulfillment. And the last one, finding joy in the simplest things. Imagine a tranquil village, far from the bustling cities, nestled deep within rolling hills and lush forests. In this peaceful place lived an elderly philosopher named Lysander. His life was not marked by wealth or fame, nor did he seek such things. Instead, he found contentment in the small, everyday moments that most people overlook. His days were spent in quiet reflection, tending to a modest garden, and engaging in thoughtful conversations with those who sought his counsel. One crisp morning, a young traveler arrived in the village. This traveler, burdened by the weight of his ambitions and the constant pursuit of success, had heard whispers of Lysander's wisdom. He had achieved much in his life, yet found himself feeling hollow and unfulfilled. His mind was always racing, consumed by thoughts of what he needed to achieve next. Curious and desperate for guidance, he decided to seek out Lysander in the hope of finding the peace that had eluded him for so long. When the traveler arrived at Lysander's humble cottage, he was greeted not with grandeur but with simplicity. Lysander invited him to sit in a wooden chair by a small fire, where the warmth of the flames contrasted with the cool morning air. They sat in silence for a while, the only sounds being the crackling of the fire and the distant rustling of leaves. The traveler, accustomed to the noise and chaos of the world, found this quiet unnerving at first. But slowly, he began to relax, as if the stillness itself was speaking to him. After a time, Lysander turned to the traveler with a gentle smile and said, "Tell us, what brings you here?" The traveler hesitated before replying, "I have achieved much, yet happiness escapes me. I have traveled far and wide, chased after every opportunity, yet something is missing. How is it that you, living such a simple life, seem so content?" Lysander nodded, understanding the traveler's plight. "You seek happiness in the grand and the extraordinary," Lysander observed, "but true joy is often found in the ordinary, in the moments we tend to overlook because we are too busy chasing after what we believe will bring us fulfillment." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Let us take a walk," he suggested, rising slowly from his chair. The two of them wandered through the village, where life unfolded in its unhurried way. As they walked, Lysander pointed out the simple pleasures around them, the morning light filtering through the trees, the sound of a distant stream flowing gently, and the sight of children playing with unbridled laughter. He spoke not with the intent to lecture, but with a quiet assurance that came from years of living in harmony with the world around him. "Look at these children," Lysander said as they passed by a group playing in the village square. "They find joy in the smallest of things, a fallen leaf, a game of tag, the warmth of the sun on their faces. They do not need much to be happy, for their joy comes from within, from being fully present in the moment. This is something we often lose as we grow older, as we become entangled in the pursuit of more." The traveler listened, beginning to see the wisdom in Lysander's words. He realized that in his quest for success, he had neglected the simple joys that once came so naturally to him. The smell of fresh earth after a rainstorm, the taste of a home-cooked meal, the comfort of a quiet evening, all these things had faded into the background of his busy life. As they continued their walk, Lysander guided the traveler to a small garden, where rows of vegetables and herbs grew in neat, orderly lines. The philosopher knelt down to pluck a ripe tomato from the vine, holding it up for the traveler to see. "This," he said, "is a miracle in itself. From a tiny seed, with care and patience, something nourishing grows. It is a simple thing, yet it brings great joy, both in the act of growing it and in the act of sharing it with others." The traveler took the tomato, feeling its warmth from the sun and the life it held within. He realized that he had been so focused on the destination that he had forgotten to appreciate the journey. The pursuit of happiness had blinded him to the happiness that was already present in his life, waiting to be noticed and cherished. Lysander then led the traveler to a nearby bench, where they sat and watched the sun begin its descent behind the hills. The sky was painted with hues of orange and pink, a breathtaking display that cost nothing and asked for nothing in return. "You see," Lysander said, breaking the silence, "the beauty of life is all around us. It is in the air we breathe, in the light that graces the earth, in the simple acts of kindness we give and receive. When we learn to find joy in these things, we discover a happiness that cannot be taken away, because it is not dependent on anything outside of ourselves." The traveler was silent, his heart swelling with a newfound understanding. He realized that the joy Lysander spoke of was not something to be sought after, but something to be uncovered, something that had always been there, quietly waiting for him to notice. It was in the simple moments, the ones that required nothing but presence and a willingness to see the world with fresh eyes. In the days that followed, the traveler began to change. He still pursued his goals, but with a lighter heart and a deeper sense of peace. He found joy in the small things, a cool breeze on a hot day, the sound of birds singing at dawn, the quiet moments spent with loved ones. These were no longer trivial details, but the very fabric of his happiness, woven into the tapestry of his life. And so, the traveler learned that true contentment comes not from the relentless pursuit of more, but from the ability to find joy in the here and now, in the simple things that are often overlooked. His journey had not ended, but he now walked a different path, one where joy was not a distant goal, but a constant companion, present in every moment. Often, in our pursuit of these ideals, we find ourselves equating effort with force, mistakenly believing that pushing harder will bring us closer to our goals. However, there's a crucial distinction between making a dedicated effort and trying to force things into place. The wisdom of Stoicism guides us to see that real strength isn't about bending life to our will but rather about understanding and aligning with the natural flow of the world around us. It's about finding balance, both within ourselves and in our interactions with the world, and learning to accept life as it naturally unfolds. Consider your own life for a moment. How often do you try to control every aspect, fearing that things won't turn out the way you hope if you don't? There's a quiet power in recognizing that not everything requires our control. Sometimes, the most profound peace comes from stepping back, letting go, and allowing life to move at its own pace. By embracing this mindset, we open ourselves up to experiences that are more genuine, more fulfilling, free from the anxiety that comes with trying to control the uncontrollable. When we choose to live in harmony with the natural order, rather than forcing things to happen, we begin to see life more clearly. We realize that joy and contentment aren't distant goals to be reached through struggle, they are found in each moment, in our acceptance of life's transient nature, and in our understanding of what truly matters. We want to express our deepest gratitude for your presence on this journey with us. Your engagement with these ideas is a testament to your readiness to fully embrace Stoic principles. As you continue on this path, remember that we are here to support you, offering insights and guidance as you cultivate a life rich in purpose, tranquility, and joy. If you found value in this discussion, please consider liking this video and sharing it with others who might benefit from these reflections. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell so you won't miss out on any future content. Allow Stoic philosophy to guide your days ahead, helping you live a life that is both meaningful and serene. We invite you to return and share your experiences with us. We're eager to hear about your journey and to continue learning together.